You know what, Sam?
What?
We had to lose one eventually.
Yes, we did. All right, we're back with another episode of the Caniac Report. And yes, Sam, our 8-game winning streak unfortunately comes to an end. But this team, we know, has to go through 82 games to make the playoffs or not. There is bound to be losing for any team, not just the Hurricanes.
Yeah, even though it's hard to believe, Winnipeg will eventually lose some games.
Yes, they will. Yeah, Winnipeg is playing insane right now, but I've always liked that team, Sam. Really
Hey,
have.
well, they're looking good. To be fair, we've only lost two more games than they have, so you know what? We're still looking pretty good in comparison.
Yes, we are. So let's get on ahead to some podcast stuff, Sam. First things first, we have a link for donations. So if you feel like you want to donate, there is a link in both our YouTube description and in our traditional podcast descriptions as well, wherever you listen to, whether that's Spotify or Apple. And another thing too, Sam, is almost a week from technically as we're recording this, a week from today, we have another ticket giveaway opportunity, which is against the St. Louis Blues. So let's give some instructions, Sam, on how to
Okay.
participate.
Oh, you see, you put me on the spot. I hadn't thought about it. Let's see here. What should we do? What should we do? Um,
Should they text like raise up or
no, no.
message or
All right, just send us a message with your favorite Hurricanes player on this roster this year. Could be Aho.
ooh,
It could be.
okay.
You know what? You know what? We're gonna change that. Send us your favorite addition to the roster this season. Just the player's last name. That'll get you enter and to win the tickets. So all you got to do is just send us a message and say, "Hey, my favorite addition to this team is Gostisbehere. My favorite is Roslovic, Robinson, Jury, or sorry, Blake, whatever it is, whatever your favorite addition to the roster is this season. Not last year, not years ago, this season. So this off season, what was your favorite addition? Send us that player's last name and you'll be entered in. You can DM us on Twitter or X, Instagram, email. If you follow us personally, you can do that too. Whatever, however you listen to us, if you want to comment on YouTube, you can do that too. So if you put a comment in there at the YouTube link, go ahead and do that as well. And then just drop your, however, put that player's last name in like your email address or something, or some way for us to contact you, or your Twitter handle or Instagram handle. If there's no way for us to direct message on YouTube, Sam, I don't know. I don't really use YouTube like that, but that's the best way. Yes. Favorite addition to this roster this season. Drop the player's last name. Any way you can communicate us, get us our attention, you'll be entered in.
Yes, DM us, email us, whatever you want to do to reach out to us. Our email is in all of our descriptions, including on YouTube as well. So,
Or tag us in a post saying how
yes,
much you
tag.
like the
Yeah.
tag us in any post of a player that you think is your favorite addition. You can say why. You can just drop the player. I don't care, but that'll enter you in automatically.
Yes, and remember, it is a pair of tickets, so two
Yep.
tickets plus a parking pass. It is a great opportunity to go to a Hurricanes game, and if you haven't been to one, great opportunity to try and go to your first
Yep.
Hurricanes game.
And since that game is a Sunday, Sam, I will announce the winner before puck drop Saturday.
Well, okay, I like that definitely because we are playing the Ottawa Senators
Yep.
the previous day, so that would be a great opportunity to announce the
Yep.
winner
I will
of our
do the
ticket giveaway.
drawing. We will choose or do the drawing as soon as warm-ups end
Okay, all right.
for Saturday's game, and I will announce it before puck drop or just shortly after puck drop, right around puck drop. But it'll close, entries will close at the conclusion of warm-ups Saturday.
Yes, definitely. So that's pretty much it for podcast stuff. Let's get to some league wide news stuff. Sam, we're going to be focusing on a little bit of the Nashville Predators uh, in our league wide news stuff because recently on a radio interview, Barry Trotz was interviewed and he was talking about his team's performance and he was thinking of the possibility of going into his rebuilding plan. So that was something. I know the hockey guy reported that, and I thought that would be interesting to talk about. It's going to be
Yeah,
with the contract that he signed, though.
so I've seen that. Um, you're gonna tick off players like Marchessault and Stamkos, I think, with that move. Specifically, Stamkos. He didn't go there for a rebuild. At least you would have to think that was told to him that hey, we're going for it. That's why we're signing you. So if they go into the rebuild, expect Stamkos to be traded.
It's going to be hard to move that contract, though.
No, I don't think so. It's what, a 2-year deal at 7 million, something
Four
like
year.
that.
It's
Yeah,
4 years
yeah,
actually.
yeah. He's a good hockey player. Wherever he goes, he's going to add value. I think 7 million is actually a pretty reasonable deal. You're not going to be taking on the full 7 this year because it would be done at the deadline. Uh, but yeah, I think if they go into the rebuild, I think it makes sense for them to move Stamkos. He's probably their most valuable asset. I think he was added for the purpose of going, getting better. So there will be teams that'll want it. And I think a team to look out for, believe it or not, where it might make sense for the move as a team that might be on the cusp of breaking forward. And I think that's Chicago. Um,
Yeah, I could see that.
where I think an addition of Stamkos would bring the rebuild very close to an end, where the offseason would just include them probably adding some on the blue line and maybe shoring up the goaltending. And even then, Peter Mrazek can get you to the playoffs. He did it for us. He could do it for that team as well. But I think they're missing that strong veteran guy who's been there, done that. They have Foligno, yes, but I really believe that Stamkos would make sense in Chicago. Personally,
Yeah,
if
yeah. Well,
I'm seeing that,
Stamkos is more of an impact player than Nick Foligno.
yeah. And goodness, I mean, I don't know, he can go in there and be a mentor to Bedard. I mean, heck, can you think of that? Having Bedard and Stamkos be on a power play together or anything like that? I mean, that would be a heck of a unit. Your first, second line center and Bedard and Stamkos. That's not bad. That would make them automatically probably a playoff team, or at least very close to a playoff team. Um, so yeah, I think Chicago makes a lot of sense, but and they're a team that could take on the contract because you have to look at, like you said, it is a hefty contract. There have to be teams who can take on the deal, contenders who can do it. Carolina is one of those teams because we have the cap space. It's just a question of does that make sense for us going forward? In the next 3 years of that deal, other teams that might have some space. Um, Honestly, it's hard to think. The Devils don't really have a lot of space. New York doesn't have a lot of space. Toronto really doesn't have a lot of space. Maybe you could look at Dallas. They might have a little bit of space. Vancouver might have some space. They've moved out a lot this offseason. Uh, but I'm looking at teams that might be more on the cusp, right? Because that's the kind of contract that's there. This needs to build on top of that. So teams, again, that makes sense. In my mind, Chicago, Detroit, maybe Buffalo, Ottawa, teams that need maybe a final piece to get over the hump.
A team that I could see because they haven't been doing good this season, and they're a team that does not want to go on a rebuild at all, and that's the Boston Bruins.
Boston could make sense, but I don't think they have the cap space.
Yeah, I don't know if they do either.
Like that's their
Um,
problem. Do they want to invest? Like that would fill a desperate need, which is a center, a second line, a first line center, really, because they just haven't found that center since Bergeron retired. So does it make a lot of sense for that team? I think it does, but it's going to cost them, and it might cost them a player like Lindholm. It might cost Marchand some money if a contract is being discussed, right? So they might have to move on from Lindholm. They extended him. I think he got the 7 or 8 year deal. Do they believe in a rebuild. If they do, Lindholm makes more sense than Stamkos. If they are adamantly opposed to a rebuild, then maybe you have to look at, okay, maybe we give up some futures and prospects and picks to get Stamkos. But for a team that's probably void of a lot of prospects and picks, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense for Boston. It fits a need, but at some point you got to go on a rebuild. Like, you don't have a
Yeah,
choice. You can
yeah,
keep
you do.
the longer you push back the rebuild, the harder it is to build up the capital
Look
in
at
order to
Detroit.
get better.
I think that's a
Yeah,
prime example. So we'll see how Nashville does. They already put one of their defensemen on waivers, and that was Dante Fabro.
he got
And
claimed.
we found out today that Columbus claimed him. So we'll
That
see
is
how he
an
does in Columbus.
excellent claim by Columbus, by the way.
Yeah.
Excellent claim. I happen to really like Fabro, so I think that was a steal from Columbus to get that player for free. And good on former Hurricanes GM Don Waddell seeing value in a solid player like that, taking advantage.
Yes, definitely. And the last thing is that there was an announcement on the Four Nations face-off, Sam,
Yep.
and it is on December 4th where they will announce the full roster.
Yeah, and expect Carolina to have a lot of people on that team.
I hope so.
Aho will be on it. Slavin will be on
Yeah.
it. Um, if Anderson comes back and plays like he's been playing, because he wouldn't be one of those players, would he?
No, he would not.
No, because that's not one of the Four Nations. But
No.
Jarvis might be on it. Natchez, oh, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Because Aho, Natchez. I mean, can you imagine those two playing together on? Because it's Canada, U.S., it's Finland, and what was the
Is
other
it
one? Russia? No, it's
is
not
there
Russia.
it's not Russia, I don't think. But I don't know if Natchez qualifies because he's not Finnish. He's a
He's not. For some
I
reason, I
know
thought
he's
he was
not
Finnish.
Finnish. No, he's not. He is from Czech.
Oh, that's right, the Czech Republic.
Yep.
Um, that's right. I don't know why I thought he was Finnish. Well, I don't remember the four teams. I know it's Canada, U.S., and I think it's Finland. And other than that, I don't remember the other player. But Carolina will have people who can play. Slavin will play on Team USA. Aho will play on Finland.
Canada,
Jarvis.
Finland, Sweden, and US.
So Sweden. I don't know who we have. I don't think we have anybody from Sweden
No,
on our team.
we do
Uh,
not.
but if you want to see players that might play, Slavin will play on Team USA. Aho will play on Finland. Jarvis, maybe Canada. I need
Canada's going to be Canada and US is going to be hard. There's just
yeah.
more competition.
Slavin will be on that team, for sure, because I want the
I
best
hope so.
shutdown defenseman. Jarvis might be asked to show up as like an extra, like a scratch.
It's just Canada's going to be hard.
Oh no, it's going to be really hard because you've got Bedard, you got Crosby, you got a whole bunch of players who can play on Team Canada. And then you just have to go, you look at what Carolina has. Does Brent Burns get asked to go play? I doubt it, but maybe. Carolina's going to have representation in this event. And they're going to have more representation in this event than they would in the All-Star game, which is hysterical. And then this whole roster is probably going to be involved when the Winter Olympics happen. I think that's next year, the year after, something like that. I mean, a lot of players are going to play. So I can't wait for those rosters to get announced. Aho will be there, and Slavin will be there. It's just a matter of, do some of the other players on this team get picked to go or not?
Yes, well, that's a wait and see. So we'll see how that goes. Sam, let's get to one of our sponsors, and then we'll get you some Hurricanes news here. I know one of the most exciting things about Black Friday is a laptop that I can get $250 off. That's something I don't normally get. Except with Raycon, because with Raycon you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year, but that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering my viewers up to 30% site wide. For example, they now feature a 32-hour battery life and multi point connectivity that lets you pair with two devices at once, especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must have for any audio lover. It's time to save big for Black Friday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site wide. That's right, you'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. Okay, Sam. So one of the things that was actually announced, I believe this was on Friday, but the Hurricanes are going to be simulcasting two games, one on WRAL, the
Yep.
other on Fox 50. The game on Fox 50 will be the November 25th game, and November 29th game will be on WRAL. Sam, I am happy that they're trying to get their games out.
Yeah.
Uh, that's just out there amongst the public, not just with FanDuel.
Yeah, no, it's great to have it. You want to grow the game, and that's going to do that. So kudos to seeing moves like that. I love it.
Yes, I really do. So congrats to the Hurricanes on making those partnerships with those two TV networks. The other thing too, Sam, and this is kind of going to be a good lead into the Colorado game, is once again the Hurricanes had travel issues.
Yeah.
They could not travel to Colorado on Friday, which was their original plan. They had to travel on the same day, that Saturday, as the game.
Yep.
And Sam, once I found that out, I was like, I could see this game being a game where we lose.
Yeah, and I think it was indicative. I think Carolina came out playing real well, and then it just was woo. So it just kind of went downhill and became a disaster. And as you will see when we talk about the game, but yeah, it was an unfortunate situation that we got into there in from here to Colorado. It's weather. You can't predict. You just can't do anything about it because the schedule's made so far in advance. You just got to learn to roll with the punches. So that happened with when Carolina's game against Tampa got postponed because of the hurricane. Again, you can't do anything about it. They made best what they could do, and they put up a valiant effort nonetheless. So, uh, unfortunately, it was not enough, but it is what it is.
Yes, it is. And since we managed to get through our hurricane stuff pretty quickly, Sam, let's go ahead and dive into the game. Probably around the second period, Sam, might stop for an ad break. Um, so first period, well, first thing, not even first period. Spencer Martin gets the nod as the goalie for the
Yep.
Hurricanes.
Yep. And he was drafted by Colorado. I think it was 2013 is what they said, something like that.
Yeah, 2013. So
So it sounded like
a
this
little
was,
bit made sense, maybe.
yeah, it sounded like this was the plan. Give Kochetkov a night off. He played all four of the home games, including the last road trip game, I believe. So he had played, I think, 5 straight, 6 straight, something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need a night off, especially when you're about to play some really tough playoff teams and tough road trip games. So you got to go now. You got to go take on Vegas, and you got to go take on oh shoot,
Utah.
Utah. So I mean, that's a new building. You've never played in it before, so there's always going to be that there. But it's going to be an interesting game, and I'm excited to see. But you wanted to get Martin a game, give Kochetkov a little bit of a gap between games because he played excellent in his last game, other than the soft goal. And you just want to make sure you get a break. So it made sense to start Martin. I didn't love his game, but I didn't love the play around him either. So I can't put it on all on him for that. I can't put that whole loss on Martin. He hadn't played in a while either, and it was just an awful situation that the team was in.
Well, he made quite a bit of good saves. I remember that one
Yeah.
play where the puck just was doing weird movements along the boards, comes
Yep.
out of nowhere, and he's able to kind of he tried to go to the ground, sort of say by hitting the puck with his chest, which I was just like, wow, okay.
No, look, that game is probably Colorado's probably scored 10 goals against stuff if Martin wasn't as good as he was to start this game. So we probably lose that by a larger margin than we did. Because I think overall Colorado was probably the better team. And then once Nathan McKinnon just took off, that was it for us.
Yes, it was. But I would say that first period, Sam, best period for the Hurricanes. We were doing really good. The only thing is we couldn't get more than one goal in that first
Yeah,
period. But
I
Drury,
told you, I said I think, and I always believe this when you have when you have a decent period like that where you get a lot of chances and you don't get a lot out of it, comes back to bite you. What happened? Came back to bite us.
yeah, it kind of did. I mean, it's a great goal from a Drury from Martinook and Stahl. Great
Yeah,
pass. Martinook had a heck of a game. He
yeah, he
really
did.
did.
He was on fire. And again, I'll even say this: when Martin Martinook's your best player on the ice, you're probably not going to win. I thought Aho didn't have a good game, really. Again, and that's just the problem that we're starting to see. I did like the line juggling at the end. I thought when Martinook got put on that line with Aho, I thought that line kicked it up, and then I noticed Aho was playing really well. But before that, I don't know. The start for Aho's season hasn't been what I want. He's picking up points here and there, but I haven't seen Aho's your best player, should be your best player, and he hasn't really dominated a game. He hasn't
No, he
taken over a game.
hasn't.
I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I don't feel as though I'm thinking of a game where Aho took over the game. I can think of several where Nate just took over the game, and maybe
Yeah.
even Jarvis, but I expect Aho to take over a game. Maybe he's hurt. Wouldn't shock me. We've seen him get hurt before, and he kind of just is there. Maybe that's it. I've noticed him maybe not taking as many face-offs. Sometimes if they're out there together, Jarvis might take that face-off. I don't know. Again,
Yeah, well, I mean, another thing too, if you compare the Hurricanes to like Colorado, Colorado has two game changers, two franchise, almost generational players in Cale McCarr, Nathan McKinnon. We
and don't
don't have
forget,
that.
future Hurricane Mikko Rantanen.
My gosh, you think Ranton's going to come over here?
I hope. I'm choosing to hope.
Well, for those who don't know, Rantanen is on his last year of his contract with Colorado. Colorado has around $13 million in cap space to try and sign him. I think they can, but I, I don't know. We'll see how that relationship is between Rantanen and Colorado.
Yep.
But I mean, I agree with you on your assessment on Aho. I don't think he's taken over a game yet, and to me, if it a little bit frightens me knowing that he hasn't scored a 5-on-5 goal.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think both of his goals were overtime winners, which is great. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I'll take those any day of the week and twice on Sunday, but you're not,
You
if
got to
that's
score
how,
5-on-5.
yeah, to avoid having to score 3-on-3 overtime. And that's what you want from him. You want him to pick up a game, dominate a game, own the game, and just completely fight hard. And I'm starting to wonder if there's injury issues there. I liked the line juggling. I am an opposite, and I am in complete opposition to Martinook, first line Martinook. Anybody who listens to our podcast knows I hate first line Martinook. But right now, when Aho just hasn't been able to get going, maybe it needs to be there. Maybe you need that energy on that line to get Aho going, and then you can always mix it up a little bit later. But I want to see line juggling. I want to see, and I agree with you. And you made the point, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as we continue to go on about maybe the power play needs to be juggled up. And I'll let you talk more about that because I know that's something you've been saying longer than I have.
Yeah, well, I feel like the power play has kind of stiffened up. Like they're not making good passes anymore. In fact, in the second period, that's where all the goals came from. Was in that second period. Obviously, we had Martinook scoring, which was 2-0 at that point. We were thinking, oh, Hurricanes might win this. But then Hurricanes go on the power play. Gostisbehere tries to make a pass to Netchus. McCarr takes it into his own hands, catches the interception, goes all the way up, and just blasts it right behind Martin. And I was like, yeah, that's a game changer moment because McCarr is that good. And that, to me, that was the turning point, I thought, for the game, was when they scored that short-handed goal, Sam. And with the power play, I really think Brindamore needs to treat it as a 1A and 1B, because it seems like it's power play 1 and then power play 10 when it comes to ranking power plays, where 1 is the best and 10 is like the worst.
Well, yeah, because if you look at the two units, all the offense is on the first unit. So I agree. It might be time to move things around a little bit, and I think you can do that by maybe adding a defenseman to one of the units and maybe moving a forward off of a unit. I think there's things you can do. I think the first move I would do is I would put Svetch on the second unit and move Roslovic to the first unit. Roslovic's been able to score. Put Roslovic on that first unit.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem. You add a little bit of punch and star power to your second unit and Svetch. And then I might flip. Now, I think that's the big move I make first. As I do that, maybe I swap Jarvis and KK as well. So you get 2 stars in Svet and Natchez and Aho, 2 stars in Svetch and Jarvis. You split them up, and then you fill in the gaps, right? Because KK can score. He's had a good start to the season. So KK, Roslovic. So maybe the first unit in KK, Roslovic, Aho, Natchez, Gostisbehere, and then like a second unit of Svetch, Jarvis, Drury, Burns, and Walker. I might take Blake off and go with 2 defensemen and 3 forwards because I think Walker has an offensive touch.
Yeah, he does.
Or maybe even put Orlov. Put Burns and Orlov on that because Orlov clearly can score too. Put Orlov and Burns on their offsides or flip them around. I think, are they both righties or are they righty and lefty?
Orlov is a lefty. Burns is a righty.
So put them on their offsides in the one-timing position, and I think you have something there for the power play.
Yes. Well, Sam, let's get to 2 more of our ads, and then we'll talk the rest of this Colorado game. What gets me excited about watching hockey is the fast-paced nature of the sport. Woo! Yes, that was Sam Driscoll, our other co-host that you heard. In fact, that is what got me sold when one of the first batch of games I watched was Game 7 between the Hurricanes and the Oilers back in 2006. Now, when it comes to going to Hurricane games, I am able to see quite a few great deals I'd like to go to in the future using the Game Time app. One of its features that I like to use are the seat views because it helps me visualize what I will be seeing when I'm sitting in that particular seat. Another key feature I like is the all-in pricing that shows your total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Okay, Sam. So, I mean, I agree with you. And I'm sure we just both agree that power play needs to change, especially after that shorthanded goal. That was the tipping point of the game. Another thing too, I think we need to talk about, because this the Malinsky goal. Now, I don't know how he wasn't able to get that goal on his first attempt, because it went right by. He had a gaping wide net, but he eventually tips it, and then the speculation starts for Brendan Moore to challenge that goal. And honestly, here's my thing when it comes to goalie interference. I mean, I don't like the ruling in the rule book, but is it wrong for me to think that I think Brindamore has the goaltending interference? I don't. It just seems like he just doesn't have it down. You know.
I
Sorry,
think
we had technical difficulties there.
yeah, no, I think Rod's got it down. I think that was goalie interference. He skated into the crease, he nicked Martin, and what they said is he wasn't in the crease. Well, that's not true. He was in the crease, so that's flat out false. Um, I believe the issue is here is that Svetch has a reputation, and he will never be given the benefit of the doubt. So they looked at Svetch nudging the player, and that was it for us. And I told you that. I said if it wasn't Svetch, probably be a good goal. Probably would be a no goal. And that's the game. I'm not going to blame the officiating for this game, because I don't think that's why we lost. I think we lost this game because we completely blew it when we allowed a shorthanded goal. To me, that was where this game changed. I agreed with the
Yes,
challenge. I thought you had to do something to slow the game down. It was a possibility. I think you can trust your penalty kill. We got very unlucky. Again, it was a stupid penalty taken to go down 5-on-3. They score at the conclusion of the 5-on-3, so that's basically a 5-on-4 goal. But I think that was I don't agree with the call. So I agree with the challenge. I don't agree with the ruling, because the ruling was he was not in the crease, and that's just not true. If you wanted to rule he was pushed into the crease, then there might be an argument there. But the ruling was he never was in the crease, and if you watch the video in slow motion, in fact he did go in the crease. He disturbed Martin, and they never had a chance to reset, and they scored.
I think they saw the nudge from Svetch, and to be honest,
Which again,
this is
that needed to be explained. It wasn't. They said he was never in the crease. That was the explanation.
yes. Okay. So, based on that explanation, then I do agree. Then that is goalie interference. My whole thing is that if I was the ref, I probably would have been like, I don't care if that was Fetch or not. He was being pushed. That's a no goal, because I do think he was a little bit pushed. I do.
Yeah. And look, I agree with the challenge, mainly because you needed to slow it down 100%. And again, I think it would have worked if we hadn't taken another penalty. But again, you just
Well, Chatfield, if you remember, Chatfield made it to where it was 5-on-3. He took a
yeah,
stupid
yeah.
high stick there.
And it was it was an unnecessary penalty. He took the penalty, go down 5-on-3. And again, if you want to talk about a problem this team has, it's discipline. They cannot be taking all these 5-on-3s. It will burn you. You are doing that in the playoffs, you won't win a game, let alone a series.
Yeah,
if you're doing that all the time. Look, you and I both have said we don't have a lot of hopes for this team in the playoffs. The way they've been playing has kind of maybe given me a little bit more hope for this season. But if you're doing that, even if you're a good team in the regular season, you won't do anything in the playoffs. You can't be taking stupid penalties. You need to watch your stick, and you can't be taking stupid stick penalties. And you can't be taking delay of game penalties, which we've done a few of those as well. And you can't be taking these double minors, which we have done some of those as well. This team has done a lot of 5-on-3 penalty killing, a lot of double minor penalty killing, and we've taken a lot of stupid penalties for delay of game. These are things that you can mitigate yourself. And in reality, I think Svech has actually done a decent job of not taking a lot of dumb penalties this season. But I think we're talking about the team as a whole has been taking a lot of dumb penalties at a lot of stupid times, and we've gotten really lucky, and you won't get that lucky in the playoffs.
No, and I would rather this team get eliminated because of their performance than their discipline.
Yeah.
If we head into their playoffs, because to me, discipline something that is teachable.
Yeah,
I would think.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. When you look at Svech, but again, I think this.
Well, I think Svech is a good. I think Svech is a good example because he used to be making tons of stupid penalties. He's not doing that much anymore.
No, I think this year has been one of his best years so far. The hope is it's the trend goes that direction, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just discipline. It drives me crazy because we've always had that issue ever since Brind'Amour took over as coach.
Yeah.
So it just makes me wonder, is that a top priority under Brind'Amour's system? It just makes me want because of how long it's been going.
Yeah.
So it's just frustrating with all those 5-on-3 stuff. Another thing too, Sam, that I do want to talk about is the missed delay of game penalty too. I don't know why they didn't just review it.
It's reviewable
That was just
now.
That was just so odd. The whole process was odd to me.
Yeah, it should have been delay game. I don't know why it wasn't a delay game. There was no explanation why it wasn't a delay game. Do I think we win if we get that called?
And they can review it now. I
They
believe.
can. I don't know if we score. Our power play hasn't been good.
But we did score on the power play with Netchus scoring.
We did.
It wasn't good, but it was a nice pass to Netchus.
I mean, you just don't know. And at the end of the day, again, I'm not going to blame the refs. And everyone knows I am like quick to blame the refs. But for me, it can't just be a couple of missed calls here and there. It has to be like an egregious, consistent bad performance where I think the officiating can be blamed for a result. And I just don't think that's what happened tonight. We should never have been in that position to begin with to need that penalty. We allowed a shorthanded goal. That's where this changed. That's why this game, Colorado was up by 1. If we don't allow that, what does this game look like, right? Momentum shifts, and the game dynamically changed after Makar scored shorthanded. So, missed call? Absolutely, it was a missed call. Should have been delay game. We shouldn't have been in the position to need that call.
Yes, I do agree there. We really shouldn't have. But, I mean, Martin gave this team life because it seemed like he was trying to do everything to put this team on his back as he scored his second goal. If we had won somehow that game, Martin would have been my first start because of how excellent he was playing. And when, I mean, you already talked about your opinion on the new lines that we saw in the third period. When I saw Martin was playing with Aho, I was like, thank the Lord. I was happy just because I was like, Aho only has 3 goals. He needs to be scoring more. There needs to be a fire up under him. And Martinuk is certainly that fire because you can't control his emotion out on the ice.
Look, at that point you needed it because that line had just kind of died. And Martinuk was carrying the team. So I support promotions when it makes sense. And it made sense at that time to do that. But I want to see these lines either as they were for the end of this game, for the next game, or if they go back to what they already had, they need to be on a short leash.
Yes.
And I'm not someone who wants to overanalyze a 1 loss because we won 8 straight. I mean, good gracious day. 8 straight wins is freaking awesome. But we all know when things go a little bit south, Rod likes to jumble it. For that reason alone, I'm kind of in favor of I understand either way, going with the lines we ended the game with or going with the lines we started the game with. I think both make sense. Maybe you give the lines we started the game with another shot to see what happens. If they don't, Aho, what was it? Aho, Natchez, and Martinook. That line was playing good. Maybe it can work, and you find another combination of players that makes sense. And I think Natchez earned first line minutes because he has been the best player. So if you want to do a little line juggling, I'm not opposed to it. But I think if you do it, you have to do the line juggling with the power play too.
Yes. I do have the lineup on my show notes here of what they went with in the third period. So obviously it was Martinook, Aho, Natchez,
Yep.
Svetch, Stahl, Blake. I find that a little bit interesting.
That was odd. They also got hemmed in their own
They
zone for
did.
like
They
3
did.
minutes to start the period, and that was a disaster. So that
They
line,
did, but
I'm not married to that line right now.
yes, but I mean at the same time, 8-game winning streak. It's just hard for me to gripe at
No,
the
no, but you can't
Hurricanes
get pinned
over
in your
the
own zone.
Mongols. No,
Stahl
you can't.
can't get pinned into his own zone for 3 minutes. That's like a big old no.
Yeah. I trust me, I agree with that. And then you had Robinson, Jury, Jarvis. I
Yep.
don't mind that. Carrier, K. King, Rosovic. I might have some concern about that line. Might just a little bit.
You could struggle to find scoring unless Roslovic is just a goal scorer now, and if that's the case, then it won't matter. But it's a matter of is Roslovic turning it on, or does Roslovic scoring because of the players around him? And this
I
line
believe. See,
change,
I believe in the later. To be honest, that's just me though.
and it could be, and I think this line change will help show it. Like if Roslovic goes out, scores again, it's like, oh, maybe Roslovic's just a goal scorer now. Versus
Yeah.
if Roslovic stays on this line for 5 games and he doesn't do anything, I think we'll have an idea. But you know what? If that means Roslovic needs to be playing on the first line to score 30, 40 goals, and for gosh sakes, stick him on that first line and let him score.
Yeah. I mean,
We haven't
with
seen the last of Aho, Roslovic, and Sech. That line
no,
works, and it will come back.
I'm just my whole thing with Brendan Moore. I mean, listen, I still think he's one of the best coaches in the NHL. I just feel like at times he just spreads his offense too thin. That's just my mindset when it comes to his lines. Because, like I said about last night, when he changed the lines, I was like, Brendan Moore never ceases to amaze me with his line juggling. Because I never thought of Svetch, Stahl, and Blake. Honestly, I just haven't.
No, and I still don't know how I feel about it. If they get pinned in their own zone again, you need to shift that up real quick. I think this season is showing a potential regression of Jordan Stahl. I think we're seeing that in his inability to win faceoffs. I think we're seeing that in his getting pinned in his own zone the other night. And if Stahl's starting to truly regress in his overall play, that's not a bad thing. That's just, again, what we talk about with Burns and Father Time, right? It's just how it happens to players. Doesn't mean maybe Stahl's hurt, or maybe there's just a regression. I don't know. I want to see his faceoff numbers get up to start with, and because that's one of the big reasons we stick him out there in a lot of situations, is because he's supposed to be winning faceoffs.
Yeah, and I think another thing with Stahl too, to me, the biggest thing is that when he's good, he plays with players that plays the same game that he does, which is why whenever we saw Foss, Martinook, Stahl, I mean, they all play a similar type of game. That line's going to play well. Same thing with Niederreiter, Martinook, and Stahl. I remember several years ago when Bill Pierce was head coach, there was a line that was doing really good, which was Neshersill, Martin, Stahl, and Nordstrom.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where he plays better with players that play the same type of game as he does.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. And look, I've said it before, Jarvis shouldn't be on that line. He's cooled off substantially 5-on-5, and you need him to go up. So does that mean it's time to put Jarvis in the top 6? It
Yes.
just is.
And also, this is my last thing I do want to say.
Yeah.
I like the chances that Carolina gets a lot, but I am still firmly in the middle on the spectrum of chances and results. Because when it comes to the chances, at some point, I need to see results. I don't care. At some point, I need to see results. Now, there are times where I'm like, well, we got to get the chances too. So I'm kind of in the middle on that spectrum. Mainly just because I know there are some people are like, well, if they have the chances, then they're gonna score. Sometimes they don't. So
Yeah.
that's my only thing. But there's a lot to talk about that game, Sam. Just
Yeah,
a
because
lot.
well, I mean, a lot happened in that game, so it only makes sense that we have a lot to talk about. And the last thing I want to say, Sam, and you can close us out. Don't freak. It's one loss.
Yeah.
We are what, like, we've lost exactly 3 games, 2 more than Winnipeg. We are fine. We are a top team in this division still, despite what we thought, despite what a lot of people thought, a lot of pundits thought that this team was down and out. They have done nothing but overperform expectations. We've had a lot of surprises. So it's one game. A lot of weird circumstances. Travel day of, wasn't anticipated to do that. And the real challenge is tonight, as you're listening to this, against Vegas. That's not an easy team to play. Then we get to go to Utah for the first time. That's going to be exciting. So at the end of the day, what you need to do is just be prepared to go out and play those games and flush this one because, again, it's an outlier compared to the way they've been playing. So don't worry about it. Push it aside and move on to a new winning streak.
Exactly. Well, it's fun, Sam, and we will see you guys on Friday.